Welcome back to Living Limitless. I'm Andrea Luzon. I'm a sacred freedom coach and legacy liberator. I take women on a journey as they reestablish authority in their life. I feel as though my purpose is serving individuals who've been through similar journeys that I've been through, and they're excited and hopeful in reconnecting to their power, their purpose, and their passion. So I've put this series together. This is called Living Limitless, and I'm connecting you with leaders who are open to sharing their stories, whether it was a walk of shame or maybe some fear that has bubbled up, or how they've come up against their misbeliefs. And now they're reconnecting with their joy, their freedom, their passion, their courage. And so we get to hear that. And also, what are some methods that we can utilize to up level our lives and reconnect to that innate wisdom inside of all of us. So today we're here with Dr. Summer Nicole. Welcome, and please tell us a bit about yourself and your work.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Andrea. Okay, so my doctorate's in physical therapy. I'm a craniosacral therapist, Reiki master. I've taught yoga for many, many years. But the broad stroke of what I do now, which is a culmination of my 20 years of being in the healing and therapy world, is I do trauma resolution work using three things: somatic therapy, reparenting, and nervous system regulation.
Outstanding. Thank you. So I would love to jump in with it's interesting. We are now in season 2 of recording this Living Limitless series. And last season was a bit about triggers and how do we walk through a triggering moment, and how do we stay in the vibration of joy, freedom, playfulness. And it's interesting because now that we're on season 2, I feel like going under at least one layer or multiple layers into that. A lot of times what's holding us back from connecting with how amazing we are is some attachment that we have to shame. We're trying to protect never feeling that shame again. And so I'd love to ask you, in your experience, what role do you feel that shame plays in us reawakening that joy, freedom, courage, playfulness?
That's a great question. And honestly, like, I feel whether you're working with shame, guilt, anger, grief, like whatever it is that you're working with, unworthiness, whatever it is that you're working with, I feel that for most people, your reaction to it, your trigger to it is deeply related to your inner child and to your nervous system. And so in my work, what I do is I kind of feel like I'm a bit of a guide traversing timelines with people and helping them retrieve that, little one, that inner child inside that where, she originally felt shamed, in her childhood. And so it's like retrieving, and in those moments, in those traumas, like when we're young and we were shamed or disconnected from love or whatever it is. And I believe it's Gabor Mate's, I think it was him that he defined shame as a disconnection from love. And whenever we're disconnected from love like that, and we have these imprints and these traumas, it's like we're emotionally frozen in time. And what's needed is like our present day, wise, healthy adult, like, needs to go and retrieve that little girl that is emotionally frozen in time, where her nervous system got disrupted. And really it's about like understanding what she felt during that time, what negative beliefs came from that, feeling shamed or that experience, and understanding what she needs. And we begin to update that inner child within us of, yes, this happened. I totally understand why you feel that way. And here's what's true, and here's what we're going to believe now. And so it's sort of like holding the hand of your little girl and like updating her, and updating her on what is true and what is true in present day time, and how you're there now to be the one that is going to nurture her. You're going to be the divine mother, the one that's going to protect her. You're going to be the divine father. And really, like, that's really what reparenting is about. It's like really strengthening those sides of ourselves so that we can like truly feel held at the deepest level, holding ourselves through like pain and emotional intensity, so that To me, that's like empowerment at the deepest level.
Yeah. I trained in spiritual counseling under doctors Ron and Mary Hulnick. And I was just reminded today of an amazing quote that has come from their teachings, which is healing is applying love to the places that hurt.
Mm.
And that just like, yeah, hearing that again in conversations with someone else who's a University of Santa Monica graduate in an earlier recording, it really re-landed that, in my heart, that, our wounds have wisdom. And when we apply the love, like the wisdom and the miracles can start to unfold
Mm.
as we move through that process.
Hmm.
So I understand that you have a process that's an example of your work that you could take us through today.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a culmination of really, I learned a technique called somato-emotional release through studying craniosacral therapy, through studying the nervous system. And just over the last 15 years or so, I've kind of just integrated my own stuff into it. And to be really honest, like going through a second divorce last summer where I was really spiraled into this core wound of abandonment, and really I had no other choice but to reparent many, many times a day. And there was just something that happened in that process for me that was like, um, there's like a precision and like an authenticity that needs to happen when we reparent, so that like we're really truly like meeting that inner child, like meeting our inner child where she is. And I just have had a fire under my butt to share this work ever since taking myself through the process, ever getting through the trenches of the suffering of that process for myself. And on the other side of it, it's just like, I know, I think when you go through some massive dark night of the soul like that you don't really forget the pain. It's that pain's like, it in your bones. Like I'll never forget the way abandonment feels in my body. It felt like death and starvation. And in that emotional intensity, I felt lucky that I had been in the healing and therapy world for 20 years, and that realizing most people aren't, and most people aren't as well resourced. And so it just, lit this fire under my butt to spread this work as far and wide as possible, because inside wounds like that can feel like no one's there. It can feel like you're completely abandoned. It can feel like no one's there to support you. And so it's really like teaching people how to support themselves in those moments and in those massive transitions, and unraveling codependency, and doing inner child work, and really like becoming that secure parent for their inner child.
Yeah. It's interesting when you were saying about it feeling like death in a way when we come up against those dark parts of ourselves, or the misbeliefs that we started believing when we were really hurt. I'm wearing these earrings today. They're skulls. I don't know if you can see them, but
Mhm.
I've heard people, leaders, talk about the death of the ego, and
Mhm.
it's interesting because I believe the ego serves a purpose. It can fuel motivation, and it can spark us to, like, it can ignite us in a way. Um, I'm not sure why I'm twisting the direction in the conversation in this direction, but do you believe that the ego has to die for us to live our purpose?
No, I don't. I believe that you could look at negative and positive aspects of the ego. Of course, the ego can be very abused, as we see in our society, of misuse of power and things like that. But our ego is there for a reason. I don't think we were given an ego for no reason. And like me being on this podcast with you and being able to, you know, or this interview, and being able to speak about what I do, and being able to like convey confidence in what I do, like that's my ego, like that's like, I think, a healthy part like of the ego, to be able to show up, in a way that like I deserve to take up space here, right? And like I feel worthy and I feel confident, and that's okay, and
Yeah.
that's okay. Like, to not shame ourselves for feeling like confident. I think obviously it can be misused in a way, but I also think that you can have a healthy ego and you can also live from your soul.
Hmm. Yes. Yeah. And I feel as though when like the so this is we're recording this around Halloween. This will be aired later. But the concept of the ego being a trickster, and us we wear these costumes around Samhain, I believe is how you say how you said Halloween hundreds of years ago. And it was about dressing in a scary way to ward off spirits. And it's interesting. So as I'm still wearing these from a festival earlier, um, it makes me think about how how our ego can sometimes be overpowering us a little bit and really based in the past of protecting us from having those, like reliving those feelings and kind of whispering in our ear and giving us some falsities.
Yeah, there's also another way to look at this, and I'm such a geek on like all things nervous system and polyvagal theory that
Mhm.
I see a lot of things like from a nervous system perspective. And if you look at things from a nervous system perspective, if you're in fight or flight, right? If you're in a sympathetic hyper aroused state,
Mhm.
meaning you feel anxious, you feel angry, you feel restless, you have racing heart, racing thoughts, whatever the things, those common feelings of that sympathetic state, you're in a defensive state, right? And they always say like the ego is defensive too, right? And so it's like you're in a defensive state, you're in a survival state. And so if you're in a fight or flight state, you're actually only going to be able to see like negative outcome and like worst case scenario. But if we can begin to like shift this is a lot of the work I teach with my clients, but it's like if we can begin to shift our attention away from the racing thoughts and those repetitive, defensive thoughts or whatever it is, and into the physiology and into our body, and like tend to the nervous system and begin to discharge that sympathetic energy from the body and get ourselves back to what's called a ventral vagal state, or a parasympathetic state, or our relaxed state where we can stay calm and present. That's the only state like where like we will have like feelings and emotions where we will be able to see positive outcomes and be able to see like positive possibilities and be able to stay like socially engaged and present with someone. So I hope that makes sense of like why I brought that in. But it's like, yeah, it's just like you can, because people always talk about the ego, in your ego, if you're being really defensive, if you're grasping for something, or if you're trying to push it away or anything like that. But if you look at it from a nervous system perspective, it just becomes really interesting because all of our nervous system responses are autonomic, meaning they happen without the conscious control of our mind. However, we can begin to learn what's the default of our nervous system, depending on our past traumas. Everyone's threshold is different, but if we can learn, oh, these are my common, I tend to get anxious, I tend to have racing thoughts, my heart starts to race when I'm in fight or flight. That and dispel that sympathetic energy from the body, you can prevent yourself from going into like a freeze response or into overwhelm or into avoidance or withdrawal. And you can begin to, and coming back, that's how you get yourself back to that calm state, that ventral vagal parasympathetic state. And in that state, you're no longer defensive. In that state, you're calm, you're collected. Like I would be able to sit here and talk to you, like staying socially engaged. So I hope that makes sense of, why I brought that in again, but it's like looking at it from that perspective, it begins to shift. And it's helped me help a lot of clients really understanding the polyvagal theory and understanding the nervous system in that way.
Yeah, I'm hearing you say that it's like a retraining.
Total
It's
rewiring.
yeah.
Yeah. We're either feeding the trauma response, like the trauma loop, or we are rewiring it. And the goal of learning polyvagal theory and understanding the nervous system, it's not that we're never going to get triggered again. That's just not what life is, right? But the goal is how quickly can I bring myself back to a regulated state when I become dysregulated or destabilized.
Yeah, I'm following you, definitely. And I understand that you're open to taking us through a process. Would you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's definitely like the basis of this is use. What I'm going to guide you, I'm going to guide you into emotional sensations, into physical sensations, in a way that we can access the subconscious mind and the inner child. And then I'm just going to give you a little bit of guidance and a little bit of language of what's needed whenever you do access the inner child, and in a way that is really authentic and compassionate and effective. Because I think I'm someone who, before I went through what I went through last year, I kind of half-assed inner child work for quite some time, for quite some years. And then when it came down to it, I was like, oh, this actually takes a bit of precision and specificity and authenticity for it to actually be effective. So yeah, I'm going to give you a little bit of guidance, and we're going to do a kind of a broad stroke working on emotions that might be blocking you to feeling empowered, basically. So we're going to unworthiness, and I'll give you five or six things for you guys to tune into, and I want you to choose maybe one or two of them pop out at you, so that each of you listening, you can really make this a very personalized process for yourself. You want me to go into it? You ready?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you just need, for anyone listening to, you just want to be in a place where no one's going to distract you for the next 25 minutes or so, where you can be seated, like a meditation position where you're comfortable. I always tell clients you can lay down as long as you don't feel like you'll fall asleep. Some people fall asleep really easily if they lay down. So once you're in a comfortable seated position, you just want to make sure your knees are a little bit lower than your hips, and then that'll allow all your spinal cords to be present, and you can lift your heart and grow tall through the crown of your head. And what I like to do for the first 3 exhales, so I want you to inhale and just imagine pulling more and more of your awareness inside the body. And then as you exhale, just sigh it out. And then big inhale, drawing more of your presence inside the body. And then one more like that. And sighing, it just activates the vagus nerve, and it's inviting the nervous system to calm down. And so keep inhaling, drawing any scattered, dissociated parts inside the body. As you exhale, hum all the way down into your gut, so you can feel the internal vibration, tuning into that internal feeling. And then big inhale, more of your awareness inside. Exhale, just a light hum all the way down, low into the torsos. You can get that vibration, feel it. And then one more big breath in, and slow down this hum. Make it twice as long as your inhale. Again, just inviting the nervous system to calm down, the mind to calm down. And just keep your breaths in and out through your nose. And as you inhale through your nose, more consciousness, presence, more focus inside your body. And then as you exhale, letting more of your consciousness expand inside the body. And allowing your exhales to be twice as long as your inhales. And let your awareness come towards your lower belly, towards the bowl of your pelvis. Feeling your legs and your feet. And then bring your attention to the base of your spine. And see, feel, imagine a grounding cord. Create a grounding cord from the base of your spine. Send it all the way down into the core of the earth, until you connect to a sense of anchoring, sense of safety, and support beneath you. Good. And then bringing your attention to the top middle of your head and just opening your crown chakra now. You can see it like a golden sphere of light, just open just above the head. And tuning into the highest point in the universe you can perceive, into the realm of your spiritual team, calling in any angels, guides, loved ones that you see as support for you, asking that they stand in front of you and behind you, to the right and left of you, above and below you, asking for their support, clarity, and guidance. And I call upon all of my highest Reiki guides and angels to work in harmony with your spiritual teams for the highest good of each of your sessions today. And I ask this in full faith. So be it. As you feel ready, beginning to breathe down that divine energy. You can see it like white golden light coming back down from that highest point in the universe, back down to the crown of your head. And just keep breathing it down. You might feel a little charge at the top middle of your head. And keep breathing it down the center of the brain, down the center of the heart, until all of your presence rests in the center of your heart. And once you're there, sitting at the center of your heart chakra, I want you to just take a moment and connect to the part of yourself that knows how to hold you with unconditional love, non-judgment, and compassion. And just tuning into this intention to access your inner child and receive any guidance, insight from your inner child today. And just expanding that intention within you, taking a few big breaths. And I want you to give yourself full permission to breathe and feel, for full permission to feel. And I'm going to name about 6 things, and I want you to tune into what jumps out at you. Maybe 1 or 2 of them that really resonate for you to work on, so you can really personalize this process for yourself. So begin to tune into a feeling of being criticized, a feeling of being shamed, a feeling of powerlessness. Perhaps for you, it's a feeling of unworthiness or not being good enough. This tendency to seek validation outside yourself. See what jumps out at you. And beginning to dive in as if you could swan dive into the feelings. I'll say them one more time: being criticized, shamed, feeling of powerlessness, unworthiness, or that feeling of not being good enough. Or perhaps it's this tendency to seek validation outside yourself. And whichever few of those jump out at you, begin to feel them, giving yourself permission to feel them. And if it's difficult for you to access emotion, think of a recent scenario where these feelings were triggered for you. And once you have the emotion, once you can feel the emotion in your body, just let the story go. And with your breath and your intention, begin to amplify the emotions, begin to breathe and feel. And just ask yourself, what other adjectives, what other emotional adjectives describe what I'm feeling here? And see if there's any other words that come in. And with each breath, amplifying, intensifying the emotions that you feel to the best of your ability. And as those emotions begin to amplify, as you begin to feel them more and more with each breath, you're just going to ask, where do I hold this in my body? Where do I hold these emotions in my body? And see what comes to the forefront of your awareness. If you get multiple locations, just ask your body, what's the primary location for me to work with that's relevant to this intention? And begin to hone in on that physical location. I want you to get as many details as you can about that physical location. Is it more towards the front of the body or more towards the back of the body? Is it more towards the right or left, or is it more central? Does it feel more superficial or does it feel more deep? And see if there's a size or shape to what you feel or see. See if there's a color associated or a texture. Honing in more and more on the exact location you're working with. And continue to breathe. And to the best of your ability, I want you to focus on that physical location, and I want you to feel the emotion simultaneously over the next 5 breaths, simultaneously feeling both the physical location and the emotions themselves. And then I want you to just ask yourself now, when is the earliest I can recall feeling this way? When's the earliest I can recall feeling this way? If you get multiple ages, go to the earliest one. And just begin to take in yourself at that age. See if you can get an approximate age of how old you are. And just take her in for a moment. What did she look like at that age? What is she wearing? Is she inside or is she outside? Let's take her in. And as if you can traverse timelines here, just imagining your present day self, your soul coming up and out through the crown, up into the astral plane, and just traversing back timelines now, back through the years, back through the decades, back to that exact age. And just see, feel, imagine your present day self right there with yourself at that age. And in your own words, in your own way, I want you to just greet her and just letting her know, saying hello, letting her know you're there, and just asking her, telling her you'd love to connect with her right now, and just asking her, is that okay? And I want you to see if you can get eye contact between your present day adult and your inner child. And for those of you, if you have a hard time getting eye contact, just be present with her. Sometimes it takes some time for her to trust that. So just still be present with her, even if she's not looking at you. But if you can, make eye contact with her. She can always hear you. And maintaining that eye contact if possible, just ask her, just say, I'd love to know how you're feeling. How are you feeling right now? And I want you to mirror back to her what you heard her say. And just say, is there anything else? And just letting her know that I hear you, that you feel this way, whatever word she used, and just letting her know that you understand, like something along the lines of, yeah, I really hear you that you feel this way. That makes a lot of sense given, what happened. That makes a lot of sense that you feel this way. Understanding her, acknowledging her. And then maintaining that eye contact if possible. Just say, what do you feel like you need right now? And then just repeat back, mirror back what you heard her say she needs. And then I'm going to give you a little bit of time here to give her exactly what she needs. So if she's asking to be held or for a hug, you can even take your hands around your own arms like you're hugging yourself. And I want you to, as if you could slow time down, be so present with her and so thorough with her, giving her exactly what she needs. I'm going to give you a minute or so for this. And as she's receiving from you exactly what she needs, just feel it in your own body. And as you're giving her what she needs, just tuning in, are there any words she needs to hear from you in the most authentic way you can? Just speak those words to her. And if you're holding her, you can continue to hold her, or you can make eye contact with her. I'm just going to give you a little guidance for this part. Just reframe it into whatever words feel the most true for you. But just say something along the lines of, I'm so sorry for all the times that I've ignored, betrayed, or abandoned you, but I'm here now. And I'm really committed to being here for you and for strengthening this connection between us at your pace, however long it takes. And you're the most important thing to me. I love you so much. And I've got you. Any other words that feel true for you to say? And as she receives your words, just feel that in your body, breathing in, feel that in your body. Feel her getting what she needs from you, exactly what she needs from you. And as you feel complete with your words, just ask her, just say, do you have any other message for me right now? And then just ask her, just say, would you like for me to check in on you regularly? And if so, how often? And get really clear on how many times a week, how many times a day she's asking for. And if her request seems unreasonable to you, because sometimes the inner child's request can be like, every day, all day, I'd like you to play with me. I want you to get really real with your present self, with your adult self, and just ask if that's the case, just does feel doable for you. And you can always have a little negotiation of like, well, how about this many days a week? How about this amount of time? Meet her somewhere in the middle and just say, how does that sound? And then get really clear on the how. How would she like for you to check in with her? Is it in nature? Is it first thing in the morning? Is it when you're meditating? It can be however she likes. So just get really clear on the how. And once that's clear, just assure her that you'll do it. Only assure her, commit to her exactly what you can commit to. You want your actions to match your words. so that you're congruent and trust can build between you. So just assure her what you can do. And as soon as that feels closed, as soon as that conversation feels complete, I'm just letting her know whenever I'm going to, obviously I'm going to have to be doing some adulting. I'm always going to be holding you here in my heart when I'm doing my adulting. And I can assure you I'll come back to check in on you whenever I can, to what I committed to, and just in your own way saying goodbye for now. And when that conversation feels complete, just imagining your soul coming up and out from that younger timeline, up and out and traveling forward now through the years, through the decades, coming back to October. I shouldn't even say the date because of the replay. This will be coming back to the present day time, coming back to present day reality. Okay, I want you to inhale through your crown chakra, and then as you exhale, descend your energy down your central channel, down your pelvic bowl to your feet. Good. And then just repeat after me. You're going to inhale and say, I now call all parts of my spirit, power, and energy back into my physical body now. Breathe in through your crown, in through your navel, and then exhale that energy all the way down to your root and to your feet. And then again, I now call all parts of my spirit, power, and energy back into my physical body now. Breathe in through the crown, in through the navel, and then as you exhale, feel that energy going symmetrically down both legs to your feet. Send that energy through your feet deep into the earth. As many breaths as you need to get it all the way down. As you're ready, last time, I now call all parts of my spirit, power, and energy back into my physical body now. And breathing in through your crown, in through your navel, and exhaling that energy down. Feel it to go symmetrically down both legs, down and out through your feet. Feel roots coming down deep and wide from your feet all the way into the core of the earth, far reaching until you connect to a sense of security, a sense of safety and support beneath you. And keeping your eyes closed, take a few more breaths here. And gently bring your attention back to the physical location you are working with. And just see what's different. Is there anything new? Was there any new space that was created? You always have the opportunity. You can leave any new space created empty, or you can fill it with anything you'd like. So if you'd like to fill it with something, I'd like you to just choose a word, one word that you'd like to fill it with. And once you have that word, just ask, if this word had a color, what color would it be? And then just take the next few moments, be super thorough. And I want you to see, feel, imagine, paint that color all over that physical location you were working with. Feeling that word throughout your body, expand throughout your body. And just trust the intelligence of the energy. Once it fills in that physical location you're working with, see if it wants to expand through the whole body, see if it wants to expand into your auric field. It may or may not, just trust the energy. And with each breath, just expanding more and more, feeling more and more that word fill up your space. Allowing your energy field to expand, feeling yourself take up space. It is worthy for me to take up this space. I am deserving to take up this space. It is my birthright to take up this space. A couple more deep breaths in and out. Expand even more. And on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes, merging your unconscious awareness into your conscious awareness. 1, 2, 3. Open your eyes and just kind of blink them open, nice and slow. Just kind of take in the light. Taking in the light, and just scan your eyes up and to the left. Good practice for your nervous system too. And just keep your breaths deep as you welcome yourself back. And if anyone needs to grab a glass of water or anything like that, can also help with grounding it in. Thank you so much. Thank you guys all for trusting me to take you through that process. Called the process I created called the somatic reparenting method. I hope it was really helpful for you. And it's not lost on me that it takes trust to allow someone to take you through a process like that. So thank you.
Thank you. I feel super relaxed right now.
Nice.
Like a cleansing feeling. The center that was feeling like pain or stuckness was my throat. And it feels like refreshed.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, no, usually if it's a group doing this, like a live group, we'll, give time for shares or, questions or anything like that. So if you can think of any questions anyone might have, Andrea, feel free to ask them. I know it's a lot after or two trying to get your thinking brain to work.
Sharing, yes. Questions, not so much.
Okay, great. Yeah, and I always encourage people to just journal and just write down your takeaways, write down what you were working on, write down what your check-ins were that your inner child requested. And if you don't remember anything else, like keep your word to your inner child. It's really important. It's how trust is developed. It's how you will develop a felt sense of trust in your body when your inner child begins to trust you. And that only happens with consistency over time so they can see you're going to be reliable to them. If you ever need to tweak the check-ins, like it's too much for you and it's not doable, just have a little check-in. The inner child always lives in the heart, and you can just place your hands on your heart and your check-ins can just look like, how are you feeling? What do you need? And do you have any message for me right now? Can be really simple, but just the consistency is the really important piece.
Thank you. Yeah, one of
You're welcome.
the messages that she was craving is interesting because I sometimes struggle with how to, I've heard, let me know if this lands for you in your coaching, but like sometimes when we say things like you didn't do anything wrong, you know,
Mm,
the key word that sticks out in the sentence is wrong. And so what was
mm,
really interesting that came forward was sort of along the sentiment was around the struggle, the situation was like you showed up exactly as you were meant to.
mm,
That feels very, very key to me right now, um, because it's like it's not necessarily talking about the guilt or shame by mentioning those words, you know,
mhm,
the kind of negative words, the words that have negativity on them, but
mm,
more of like you played the game in this situation from my childhood. It was a game, and it was the message was you played the game exactly as you were meant to, and that was what she like. What that's what really landed. Excuse me.
mm,
That's what really landed with her.
mm,
And that's kind of ringing true with like with my parenting, you know, with how I get to show up, which is like, you know, you're showing up exactly as you're meant to. You know, that moment that happened is exactly as it was meant to. So I really appreciate that. That's what's landing for me right now.
yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's so true. It's like the words, like those, whatever the words are, it's like you're the only one that really knows them. So it's
Yeah.
like there can be a certain amount of guidance that, one can be guided. And like that's what I found really makes the difference is it has to be authentic. It has to meet them where they're at and like what they really need to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
So good
so
job.
thank you. And
Mhm.
I'm like that phrasing gets to come into my present day awareness of like, you know, you're showing up exactly as you're meant to. Like we don't get to do the
Mhm.
self beat up thing, you know, or that's one of the questions I've talked about with some individuals that were more family and parent focused is like how do
Mhm.
we stop the shaming cycle? You know, how do we take
Mm,
the wording out of our sentences and the way we talk to ourselves, and I'm in the inner child, and then also how do we not show up that way in any of our relationships?
mhm,
So
mhm.
that's what's landing with
Yeah,
me.
I have.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I have an affirmation meditation for rewiring your subconscious mind, and it's a bunch of affirmations, and my clients really love it because they're just like it like they'll listen. And I'll say listen to it in the morning or in the evening because that's when your subconscious mind is the most influenced. And then I'll encourage people to even do their own, of just like write out whatever affirmations you need, and then just record a little audio memo, and then just listen to it every day, whether it's first thing in the morning or right before you go to bed. Can be really useful.
I love that. So I get to record myself. You are showing up exactly as you're meant to. Like
Yeah.
no self beat up,
I'm,
no self beat
I'm
up
doing a
allowed.
good job. Yeah.
You are perfect just
Yeah.
as you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is really landing. Hearing your own voice say that in a
Mhm.
daily recording, that sounds beautiful. I've heard that the power
Mhm.
of next to our mother's voice, you know, next to whatever was resonating when we were in the womb, it's like it's our own
Mhm.
voice. You know, so when you're
Mhm.
having us breathe out like the humming, you know, that
Mhm.
our own voice is very soothing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and the sighing and the humming and like feeling that internal vibration, it just activates your vagus nerve, which is your relaxation response. Yeah.
Outstanding. Well, I feel like you have
Mhm.
been in such service to me, to all of you watching. So thank you, Summer. And
Mhm.
I would love for you to share what it is. I know that there's another gift that we get besides this recording of being in this session
Yeah.
with you. Would you be open to sharing where we can find your gift? Also, where can we find you online? Or if someone wants to work with you more deeply, where can they go?
Yeah. So I'll leave you the link in the chat, and I'll let you share it with everyone, Andrea. The link to it's a free 10-day online immersion. It's a free 10-day somatic reparenting online immersion. It's called The Body's Map to Inner Child Healing. And the mission is really to help people meet their unmet childhood needs, like teaching people how to become this secure parent, for yourself and for your inner child, and really teaching people how to create safety and how to create security from within. So you stop seeking it, outside yourself, and how to go from, codependency and self-abandonment to just self-love and empowerment is really the mission. So I'd love for you guys to join. This is the second time I'm doing this. It begins November 8th and to November 8th to the 19th. So we go Monday through Friday, weekend off, Monday through Friday. Andrea is going to also be a speaker on it. So it's really exciting. And yeah, I would love for you to join. We had like 900 people join last time and hoping to have even more this time. And so it creates this like collective healing vortex. And it's really, really powerful. It's kind of my biggest give of the year. And so I'd love to have you join if any of you feel called and are in need of some support right now.
And for those of us in the United States, it's just before Thanksgiving. So that's,
yeah,
that's perfect. Get that healing going before you're surrounded by family. The people who sometimes bring up the
parenting's really important around the holidays. Yeah, exactly. And then I was going to answer your question. My website is Soma, SOMA, women.com. And then you can find me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Dr. like DR _ SOMER and then _ Nicole. And I'll just give that to you to share with everyone, Andrea. And then I can give you my email too to share with everyone if anyone has any questions or anything at all that you need clarification on, just let me know.
Outstanding. Yes, I will make sure that if the link isn't on this exact page, then you will definitely be getting an email that will have the links to the amazing free gifts that our experts are sharing. Dr. Summer, Nicole, it has been such a gift getting to know you better, and just that experience that you just took us through is remarkable. Thank you so much for being a part of this interview series, and I am excited to serve your community. It's just gonna be a wild, November is a wild month. It's gonna be fun.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it's a joy for me to guide people through this work. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so thank you to all of our listeners. This has been Living Limitless. I am Andrea Luzon. I can't wait for you to join us next time. And if this happens to be the very last interview, because I still get to put them in divine order, then you get to join us for season 3, which will be happening in 2022.